So, Ishwak, a warm welcome to you on Filme Shilmy and congratulations on Rocket Boys, which is set to take off on SonyLIV. So, huge congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So, you're playing Vikram Sarabhai, a man who has built the foundation of science in India. Given the stature and legendary status of Mr. Sarabhai, sadly, his story, I feel, has not been given prominence within Indian entertainment in terms of the mainstream sphere until now. So, why do you feel, first of all, this was the case?
It's only a matter of time. This was a story waiting to be told. And I think that also storytelling. Let me take this opportunity to say this: that with whatever work I've done, I have to say hats off to the producers and the makers. It's not an easy thing to make a series or a film or to tell a story, even write a book. I guess it takes a lot of research. It's a responsibility. There's so much associated with it. It's a gutsy move, and hats off to Kapur, Nikkhil Advani, the makers Abhay Pannu, to write it, to direct it, something this scale with an amazing cast of characters, people we are associated with, we love, we respect, look up to. It requires guts, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, playing Dr. Sarabhai, I think it's such a, like I said, it's such an important role. And because it has really formed the foundation of science within India, it must have been a major responsibility for you, right? So what was your initial reaction like when you received the offer to do the role?
Every part is, even if it's a fictional part, even if it's a story, I guess it's like a thing that you owe to uh, your profession as an actor. You need to be honest to the writing to begin with. A whole lot of things to your craft. It's always a responsibility, a big responsibility. The thing about doing a real life character is that, and you kind of get it once you get into the groove, then it's like you're doing your thing. And then you're not thinking, it's like, I just wonder and draw a martial arts analogy. It's like when some amateur boxer or some, new kid on the block would have gone up against, got a shot at Muhammad Ali or Tyson. Is he thinking who he's fighting, or is he just like doing his thing? When any of the underdog goes up against anything formidable in any field, so you're doing your thing. The interesting thing here is that when it's something so huge, iconic, when it's something larger than life, when it's something so meaty, I guess there was a lot to uh, study, research, look up, and which is more like a playground for me. I mean, it's like, you give a kid, an inquisitive kid, a whole lot of toys. Is it gonna nerve him, or is it gonna just make his day exciting?
Right.
So I love this research based acting. I love reading. I love knowing things. Part of the reason I do it is because I get to know a different world.
True.
It's so exciting. It's probably, if you ask, a lot of actors would subscribe to this thing. And why you don't want, I mean, it's like it gives me an opportunity to break the mold. And I was playing a cop, hanging out with cops, researching, reading, thinking like a cop, and now I'm thinking like a scientist, thinking about what it's like to get this thing passed through channels of bureaucracy. How do I get the technology? What is it that I need to do? And at the same time, doing my research and the kind of person I am, living that life.
Absolutely. That is so well said. So because you said you like to explore different aspects of life through your work, through your professional field, I assume you must have experienced and practiced a lot of physics on set too. So what helped you, I guess, to present the role as organically as possible, especially given the nature of the role?
It's like Leo tells Tom Hanks in that film, I studied and I passed. I studied, man. Studied physics. Yeah, and I mean, I didn't get past 10th grade, but revisit. I was a science student. I studied physics. I used to enjoy it. Wasn't a very keen student in school, but later I was. I did pretty well in college. Tried to be an architect. Um, so I also bought a whole lot of big books on, so, general science, astrophysics, cosmic rays. I geeked out on all of that. I didn't understand all of it because it's not a joke. And that would, if I said I do in 3 or 6 months or even a year, even if I was consistent throughout the prep, and as which I was, even when I was shooting, the prep doesn't stop. Uh,
Mm,
it would be it would undermine the efforts of those great people, and any student who puts in the hours to become or pursue physics or any subject.
mm,
But yeah, but what does happen is that it gives you a sense of it. It gives you a sense of what that world is. What does it mean to be a physicist? What is it that excites you about it? Which
mm,
concept? There were concepts that excited me, and it
mm,
gives me an idea. Oh, so was it this? And then it's a puzzle. I'm reading all of this, and then I have his biography. I have the script, which is a very well researched script, and then there are cues, and I can piece this puzzle together and put two and two, and that's when so that's what he's talking about. This is what the biography, when it says that Vikram believes in interdependence, it's like one of the most basic tenets of science,
mm.
interdependence. That's why he kind of sort of was a people's. So was he a people's person because it was his community, it was his Jain culture, that upbringing, or was it because he was more of a man of science and he believed in the principle of interdependence?
Sure.
That's how you kind of take things, because it's very important. It's one thing you keep sort of researching, but the other thing is that what is it that you're researching, and at the end of the day, you need to bring something from it, take something from it that you can use.
Absolutely. And I think what I think is very fascinating. You see, Vikram Sarabhai's story is not unsung. And I spoke with Siddhartha Kapur, and that's exactly what he said. It's not unsung, but yet not many of us know exactly how his life was, and like as you described, what that process was in terms of his personal life too. Um, so how? I mean, you must have been aware, I'm sure, about Vikram Sarabhai before the series, and I think throughout the process of working on the show, was there something that you discovered about him which was new, which is something perhaps you never knew before?
Yeah, all of it. I mean, it was I didn't know about him on a granular level. It was just the very basics that he's the founder of ISRO, one of the belongs to a family which is considered a set of people associated with a set of people who were considered nation builders, whether it was Kasturbhai, Ambalal Sarabhai himself, then Vikram Sarabhai, Homi Bhabha, all of them, a great man of science, not just Indian science. He belonged to, which is another great thing that I learned. And it is, you kind of need to see things from a different point of view. That while it's a very interesting time that these men lived in, they considered themselves also men of science of the international community. It
Mm.
was those days the community was smaller and closely knit.
Yeah, true, true.
And if you see, while there were serious rivalries, you're talking about the Cold War, and you just got out of the World War II, and those days, 40s, 50s, 60s, yet there was amongst the scientists, there was exchange, there was flow of information. They wouldn't let science suffer.
Yeah,
Uh,
true.
Post the World War, of course, World War II.
And plus, I think, I mean, was this just to confirm, was this just after independence or just before independence, when the whole uh, premise takes place of the series? It's just after independence, right?
It's around that time. It's around
Around
that
that
time.
time. Yeah,
Yeah, starts from around that time.
exactly. And I think that time, I feel like at that point as well, there was so much more sentiments involved, I think, of making our country. I mean, there's still sentiments, of course, to make your country proud, of course, don't get me wrong. But at
No, you
that
said
point,
it. It was. I mean, this is something again. I want people to find out, but and how it's been played, and sometimes it's overtly presented in that sense, but that's what it is. If you read any
mm,
of the material that's out there and in the public domain, it
mm,
was what brought them back to the country and why they inspired a lot of people, and a lot of people left were in position of uh, in great positions in pursuing uh, science, physics, careers. in some of the best universities doing research under great scientists, but they chose to come back because they believed in making the country great.
Mm,
And I mean, that's why I call them the men of honor,
yeah,
great men. And it was the golden
definitely.
era.
Absolutely. No, very true. I think in addition to science, there seems to be a lovely focus on friendship and comradeship, which is what I gauged from the trailer in particular. And I think for me as a Gujarati, I feel very happy to see both the men actually do so remarkably, like have had such a wonderful contribution towards our history. And I think that's something which really makes me really proud as well. But you know, did you kind of reflect on your actual bonds to reflect or represent rather this relationship that you share with Jim Saab on screen? Did you ever reflect on your personal friendships?
I'd never known Jim until we met on the set. And then it's not just him, but the entire unit. We, by the end of it, like, like as I moved on, I was talking about it the other day that, it doesn't hit you, but as you move on, you go on to doing the next thing. You realize it's like, you feel that nostalgia. You get
Mm,
to realize that that's when you realize that it's like moving out of school and going to college, and those friends are not, you kind of sometimes, if you really really have had loved your school life and had great friends, and then you just like, well, it's not the same anymore. It's like these guys, like I wish I was still there, and it's like you want those people to be back in your life.
mm,
So yeah, I mean, I've learned so much from the entire cast and crew, especially, of course, like most of my work has been with Jim. It's amazing how in a very it's like a very intangible, in an intangible form, when you sort of really commit yourself to the part, how much you end up giving to the character, learning from it, and giving to your co-actors. I mean, as I went, and again, something I discovered as I moved on to doing the next thing, and I realized that I have this man's skill set, which he's
mm.
passed on to me. It's like a virasat someone gives you without,
Yeah,
because you are really offering so much, giving so much to the character. It just says talks so much about his work ethic and commitment towards the character.
it's interesting you said this
Towards
actually.
yeah,
I spoke with Regina actually, and she said that when she was playing Mrinalini ji, she felt like a presence was watching over her. She felt like she was there, guiding her throughout the process. So it's quite interesting you say
beautiful.
that actually about this Virasat thing. I loved your role. I loved your performance in Patal Lok. I mean, I'm sure you've
Thank you,
probably received a lot of love for that and appreciation for
thank
that.
you.
And I think until now we've kind of seen you like graduate, like you've done a lot of solid, like notable roles, which have been obviously in the supporting category. And I think this is kind of like the first time we see you take center stage in a show or in a film. But do you kind of feel like, because I know craft hota hai, and it's not about the quantity, but do you feel like your expectations and approach towards the craft maybe or of your career has changed a little bit through Rocket Boys?
Don't think like that at all. I don't think like that at all. Although it is. I mean, then there's no end to it. Pataluk would have been the first, say, main ensemble, and before that, it would have been like the first core team or the secondary or primary character,
Mm,
and then before that, it was like the first speaking. There's always going to be a first. You just
yeah,
got to do your thing, man. It's like Ashish Vidyarthi very nicely once told me. It's like you got to work like an efficient fridge.
yeah, true that.
It works. It's
Mm.
just a fridge, but it works efficiently every time.
Absolutely. And but I think also Ishwak, surviving in this industry is tough, and I think work especially is quite inconsistent. I've realized this. Even as a journalist, the struggle is pretty much quite I can understand exactly how it feels. But how important would you say it is for an artist to continuously reinvent themselves and completely push the envelope, even if exterior factors are not in your favor?
Well, no, literally exterior factors were not in our favor because we were amidst a pandemic.
Mm,
Uh, and there's so many other exterior factors. It's a very generic term, but I think I know what you mean. I guess you stick to, there's a bunch of things you could, kind of uh, how you could approach this or deal with this. Nothing, first of all, is consistent. You see the life. I've seen lives of people from other profession. They've got to reinvent themselves all the time. Every artist has to, performing artist, designer, artist, painter, architects, from a family of architects, so I know what it's like.
Yeah.
You got to perform every day, man. Everyone's doing that every day in their life. But I'll tell you, specific to acting, I think a couple of things. First, you don't want to, you want to keep reminding yourself, why was it that I started doing this?
Mm.
Never let go of that. Second, if you consistently, like, it's a very basic thing, like my theater director used to say that aaj tumne actor, tum bade actor banna chahte, you'd say, address this, the entire uh, the entire group, and he'd say that, what is it that you've done today to be an actor, to earn that title, or
Mm.
to improve? What is it that, have you done something?
Yeah.
People need to work on themselves, and just find yourself. I guess that's what, you could call it reinventing, you could call it working on your craft. But you just, I mean, I just want to do this, man. Like, I want to do it every time. I want to kind of, and as I guess reinventing would be that, as I move on from one thing to the other, um, I don't want to kind of, and as I'm learning from my co-actors, from these new filmmakers, you always learn. So I go out there with the intention of not having acquired the knowledge and now I'm going to present it and I'm the ultimate. It's not that. I'm
Right.
always, while I go take all these things with me, but I'm also going as a clean slate.
That is so true. And I think on a final note, actually, I mean, from one milestone like Rocket Boys, you've got another called Berlin coming up as well, which is a spy thriller. So how has, when you are exploring such diverse genres, do you feel like it also has an impact on the way Ishwak Singh is and the way he sort of associates himself with others? Do you feel like एक छाप रह जाती है, एक character, एक style आपके ऊपर?
For sure. It was like, when you play a character, now you have an opportunity, and it's human, not humane. You got to play it as a human, which means that have, uh, uh, he will be flawed, and we all are in our
Mm,
own ways. He would have eccentricities. Mm. Now it's you're as an actor, you're in a position to kind of know what it is, and that's why I guess the biggest tool comes in play, which is empathy, um,
true.
along with that logic, understanding good, bad, and that's why actors are encouraged to read and to be compassionate and all of that, because then you've got to make the right choice. That this thing that I played, and he was flawed in this sense, and you always told to sort of find the character within. You
Mm.
want to know that this is the guy in me that I need to get rid of, and this is the guy I need to hold on to.
Sure, sure. Well, I think it sounds all well and good, honestly, Ishfaq. And I think hearing about your process and the way you play your characters, you are extremely, you're one of the finest talents I think we have of our generation. And I'm
Thanks, man.
genuinely so, so glad. In fact,
Thank you.
like, as soon as I saw you in Patal Look, I was like, this guy is going places. I just knew it there and then that, and I'm really happy to see you in a show like Rocket Boys, which again is such an important series, and I'm super excited to see more great work from you as well, Ishwak.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the show.
Definitely, definitely. And I'm getting more greedy to see you in more parts as well. So hopefully we'll get to see more great work as well from you, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Hope to chat with you soon.
Definitely, Ishwak. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. Thanks, Sarbh.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.